Hey everybody, if you're new to the sport of airsoft, you may have a couple questions. One of them being, how do I put my battery in my gun? Believe it or not, a lot of people actually have this issue. We see a lot of new people come through our store, as I'm sure a lot of other stores really see. I mean, that's kind of how the sport keeps on going. But today we kind of want to go over just on 4 different brands how you put your battery in your gun. Now these are all M4 gun or M4 style guns or the AR platform, but that seems to be the most often used starter gun. As far as electrics go that you're going to use a battery for. So we kind of wanted to go over how to get your battery in each different one. Now, the Crytek LVOA and the VFC Avalon aren't really necessarily starter guns, but you might be starting out with one of them, you know, depending on what your budget is. I mean, they are fantastic rifles, so why not try it? So let's go ahead and jump into it real quick. We're going to start with the Classic Army rifle. This is one of the more basic jump-in ones that we can do. So, crane stock here, the battery goes in the rear. So to access the battery compartment, you can see this tab right here, and it's on both sides of this stock. And what you want to do is you want to be able to pinch both of them together basically towards the center of the stock. And you'll see it'll kind of like pop out a little bit. And from there, you can actually release the stock or the butt plate. It's going to be a little tight. You might have to push from both sides a little more, or like release one side more than the other. But eventually it'll just free itself up, and there you go, you've got the compartment open. So you're going to have your stock closed all the way down. There's your wiring on the inside, so that's how you access your wiring. You slide your battery in, you hook it up, and then you push your wiring out of the way, set the stock whatever position you want to have it at, and then close it up the same way that you took it off, putting those tabs back in there. So that's the Classic Army. We'll slide that guy out of the way. The G&G is very similar. It comes from the same style. This is all based on a pretty old design, honestly. So you can see it has the same kind of tab style here. It's a little different than that, but it's the exact same setup for the most part. I mean, you can either push from one side and then do the other, or you can push them at the same time. It's a little easier on some models to push or pinch at the same time to pop it off. The G&G, it's not all one piece. So you're gonna have to pull the back plate off. Then you're gonna pull this little tab from the inside. They have a little battery connector to hold it all in place, and then you have your wiring on the inside. So that's how that one is set up. Battery, of course, is going to go in the same way that it went into the Classic Army. Slide it down the tubes of the buffer tube, and then go from there. Makes it a little easier if I actually have the wiring out of the way first before I try to put this all back together. And this is something that you're going to have to kind of deal with when you go into these stocks. So slide all that back in place, and you can see hook that little tab right there, the little L bend right at the top. Close your stock down. So that's the Classic Army and the G&G. So those are the most common styles. Then you have the Crytek style. They do it a little bit differently, same way in a sense, but it's still a back cap. But you see there's basically a button right here that you're going to press, and it's mirrored on both sides. You want to be able to pinch towards the inside on those tabs or those buttons, and then your back cap is going to come off. So you have to apply pressure from both sides at the same time for this model, and of course you can access your battery into the rear there. And you want to hook it back in top, and it closes down like so. The easiest one of all of them, of course, is our VFCU, the Elite Force Avalons, and so on, with their QRS stock design, which is pretty impressive and simple for what it is. You simply just press it out. That's it. If you didn't see what that was, I just basically pushed on this tab until it released. And then it rolls up, it stays in place, it's captive. If you're using a buffer tube battery, you can slide it straight down the buffer tube because the VFCs and the Avalons have room for that. If you want to use a 9.6 volt nunchuck battery, you just take these little caps, slide them off, slide your battery in place, and then run your wire through the insides of these little hooks right here, plug it up, close it down, or honestly, you put these back first. And one of the cool little additions that they add for these stocks, if you want, is you can actually remove these tabs by taking your stock off and then removing them from the inside, so you can slim down your stock if you want, which is just a neat little feature that they allow. And of course, once you have your battery all plugged up, you can just close it. So that basically covers how you want to get into the battery compartment on most M4 style platforms. If it's front wired, it's going to be a couple different ways, but it typically means that you have to pull back on the delta ring, which would be sitting at the front of the gun about right here. So you just pull back on that delta ring and then remove one of the clamshells that's covering the battery compartment. But that's the basics of getting into your battery compartment on your airsoft gun. Don't be like me and dropping it. But if you guys have any questions at all, you want to see something new on the channel, just leave us a comment. Hit like or subscribe, or don't like or don't subscribe. Leave us a nasty note. We like reading them all. But we'll see you guys around. Bye-bye.